There is no seventh floor in our school. I've checked the blueprints myself. The principal says the building only has 6 floors. The maintenance staff says the same thing. Even the emergency evacuation maps stop at 6. So explain this. 3 nights ago, Aiko and I spent 23 minutes on the 7th floor, and when we came back, a student was gone. Not missing, gone. As if he had never existed. It started at exactly 3:17 a.m. I couldn't sleep that night. Rain tapped softly against my bedroom window while the blue glow of my laptop illuminated the room. I was halfway through a physics assignment when my phone buzzed, a message from Aiko. "Are you awake?" That alone wasn't unusual. The second message was, "Daniel, have you ever noticed the elevator has a 7th floor button?" I stared at the screen. Our school didn't have an elevator button for the 7th floor. It never had. I replied immediately. "What are you talking about?" A photo arrived seconds later. The image showed the school's elevator panel, and beneath them, a button I had never seen before. My stomach tightened. I called her. "Aiko, where are you?" "At school." Silence. Then she added, "I think you should come here." 20 minutes later, I was standing outside the school gates. The campus was empty. The rain had stopped. Everything felt strangely quiet. Too quiet. Aiko was waiting near the entrance. Her expression alone told me this wasn't a joke. Without speaking, she showed me her phone. The photo was still there. Button 7. We entered the building together. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The empty hallways stretched endlessly into darkness. Every footstep echoed. The elevator waited at the end of the corridor. The doors opened immediately, and there it was. Button 7. Neither of us spoke. Aiko pressed it. The doors closed. The elevator began moving upward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then something strange happened. The display went blank. Not 7, blank. The elevator continued rising for nearly 30 seconds, much longer than physically possible. I looked at Aiko. She looked just as uncomfortable. Then the elevator stopped. The doors opened. At first, I thought we were still inside the school. The hallway looked familiar. White walls, classroom doors, lockers, fluorescent lights. But something felt wrong. The proportions weren't right. The corridor seemed longer than it should have been. The ceiling slightly lower. The lighting slightly dimmer. Like someone had rebuilt our school from memory. An imperfect copy. Aiko whispered, "Daniel." I already knew what she was about to say. There were no windows, not a single one. We started walking. Every classroom door carried a room number, a 7th floor, an impossible 7th floor. The deeper we walked, the stranger things became. The clocks all displayed 3:17, every single one. None of them moved. The air felt stale, heavy, as though the hallway hadn't been opened in years. Then we found the first classroom. Inside sat 20 desks, all occupied. Not by people, by photographs. Each desk contained a framed photograph of a student. Hundreds of eyes stared back at us. Students from different years, different uniforms, different decades. Aiko slowly picked up one frame. The photograph showed a teenage boy. He looked completely normal, until I noticed the writing beneath it, remembered until 2019. Neither of us spoke. We continued deeper into the floor. Another classroom, more photographs, another classroom, even more. Then Aiko suddenly froze. I followed her gaze. One photograph near the back wall. A student from our class, Haruto, a quiet guy who sat near the rear window row. His photograph looked recent. Beneath it were 4 words, "Forgotten tomorrow." My blood ran cold. We left immediately. The elevator was exactly where we'd entered. The doors opened. We returned to the ground floor. Everything seemed normal. Until morning. Haruto's desk was empty. I asked where he was. Nobody knew who I was talking about. The teacher looked confused. My classmates laughed nervously. Even the attendance list didn't contain his name. It was as if he had never been enrolled. I looked at Aiko. She looked terrified because she remembered him too. We searched the yearbooks after class. Every photograph containing Haruto had changed. His face was gone. His name was gone. Only empty space remained. That should have been impossible, but it got worse. The following night, Aiko received another message. A message from an unknown number. 3 words. Come back up. Attached was a photograph. A classroom on the 7th floor. 1 desk, 1 photograph. A new name beneath it. Aiko Tachibana. My chest tightened. Neither of us slept that night. The next day, we went to Reina Aizawa. At first, she denied everything. Then I showed her the photograph. For the first time since I'd met her, she looked afraid, real fear, not surprise, recognition. She quietly closed the classroom door. Then she asked a question. How long were you there? 23 minutes. Her face turned pale. Neither of us understood why. Then she opened a cabinet and removed an old photograph. The image was at least 20 years old. A group of students stood in an unfamiliar hallway. Behind them was a sign, floor 7, and among the students stood a younger Reina Aizawa. Aiko stared at the photo. You've been there. Reina remained silent. Finally, she nodded. More people entered then came back. The room fell silent. Reina explained that every few years the floor returned, always at 3:17 a.m., always through the elevator. And every time it appeared, someone was forgotten, not killed, forgotten. The floor fed on memory. The more people remembered you, the longer you survived. The less people remembered, the easier it became for the floor to erase you. That night, Aiko disappeared. Not physically. She was still standing beside me, but nobody recognized her. Teachers ignored her. Students walked past her. Even the school records no longer contained her name. By morning, her social media accounts were gone. By afternoon, family photographs had changed. By evening, even her parents no longer remembered having a daughter. I was the only person left who remembered Aiko, the only one. We returned to the 7th floor one final time. The hallways felt different, more alive. The fluorescent lights flickered constantly. The clocks all displayed 3:17. And at the end of the corridor stood a single classroom door. Aiko's name was written on it. She looked at me. For the first time since I'd met her, she seemed scared, not of the floor, of being forgotten. I wanted to promise everything would be okay, but I wasn't sure it would. We entered together. Inside was a single desk, a single photograph, Aiko. The frame was beginning to fade. Without thinking, I grabbed it. The lights exploded overhead. The hallway shook. Every clock stopped. And somewhere beyond the walls, something screamed. Not an animal, not a person, something older, the floor itself. When I opened my eyes, I was back in the elevator, alone. The doors opened onto the first floor. Morning sunlight filled the hallway. Students moved normally. Teachers chatted. Everything looked ordinary. Almost. Because Aiko's desk was occupied. Occupied by Aiko. Alive. Present. Remembered. She smiled when she saw me, as though nothing had happened. I almost laughed from relief. Almost. Until I noticed something on the back of her notebook. Written in handwriting I didn't recognize. 7 simple words. See you again at 3:17. I looked toward the elevator. For just a second. I thought I saw the number 7 glowing on the panel. Then it disappeared. As if it had never been there. But before I turned away, I noticed one final detail reflected in the elevator doors, standing behind me. A student I had never seen before, wearing our school uniform, watching, waiting, and smiling, as though he already knew my name.